this is Julissa. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now in the podcast. Today is Tuesday, April 15, 2025. I wanted to come and share this story with you guys because this is one of those stories that, reminds you that life can change at any moment and that if you have a question regarding something, you can always ask. You should be able to ask a question. You should be able to get a second opinion. Before I continue, everybody, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now using Pandora Podcast. I know the audience in Pandora has grown. Thank you so much for um, rating the podcast, giving it the thumbs up, and also saving it. Thank you so much. I see that a lot of listeners has come in through the Pandora Podcast platform, and of course, thank you so much. Actually, a lot of listeners are coming in also through Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now using Apple Podcasts. And of course, I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching this video right now on YouTube. Thank you so much for sharing, subscribing, and watching the video. So, you guys, when it comes to the medical field, it's one of those things I think in a like I feel like everybody has grown to always do what the doctor said. And I think that is a great advice, but always remember you always have to have this kind of in the back of your head when you're dealing with a medical professional. Um, Throughout the years, we have seen that healthcare has changed dramatically, drastically, I guess you can say. You go sometimes to appointments and they're rushing you. Nobody has time to hear you out. People are just, doctors, it seems as though they're just trying to see as many patients as possible. And when you want patients to be seen, if you are a medical in the medical field, excuse me, and you're trying to see as many patients as possible, what's going to happen? The quality of care is going to completely drop down, right? There is no longer that kind of like connection that you might have with the doctor. Yes, some people do pay. I think all of us, we pay a lot of money for medical assistance, for medical help. And a lot of people, if they can afford the big expensive doctors, they do that. But when you have to remember, my main point, what I'm trying to say is this: at the end of the day, believe it or not, I remember when I find this out, the medical field is also a business. And there are things that are being done to a lot of people based on just a business. They're trying to get you to do a lot of tests, unnecessary tests, and you always have to look out. A lot of the medical professionals, they always have some type of they always say, do you go see this doctor? I know who this man is. That is good, but always remember it's also a referral. They're giving you a referral to a colleague and they help each other out that way as well. Okay? When I'm saying all of this, of course, not every doctor is like that. We have great people in the medical field who are just after caring for a patient, trying to find the best remedy for whatever it is that the patient is going through. But throughout the years, like I said earlier, the medical field has changed. You see people, I remember going to doctors with my mom, and I'm like, we came for a couple of things. Can I just finish? It's just this rush of, what are your symptoms? 1, 2, 3. Okay, you want to go to the pharmacy? I'm going to order you this. It's a quick diagnosis being done. There's no longer disconnectivity with the patient, and care, like the caring of something, you can see that is diminishing, right? They always, they rush into diagnosis, which can make the patient become stressful. And what happens when you're dealing with stress? Your body begins to react, right? So those are the things that you really have to pay attention. The reason that I'm saying this, the story that I'm going to share is about a 32-year-old woman who has her ovaries removed, and now the doctors are saying to her, I am sorry, we kind of made a mistake, right? She's 32 years old, like I said, from England, and she went through this complete let me I know I was gonna mess that word up, and I'm already like scared to pronounce it. She had a hysterectomy, and this was due to a tumor on her ovary. But doctors later apologized when the biopsy shows that she actually had no cancer. Okay, when you go to a doctor's office and you're being diagnosed with something, ask as many questions as you want. And if you bring somebody with you to kind of help you to go through something, and they always want to be like, you know, there's no, when it comes to your health, there's no stupid questions. There's no like, I already told you this. You can ask as many questions. And if you have somebody who you brought with you who wants to tell you, oh, don't ask that, that's obvious, we can look into that later. That's not the person that you need with you in that moment, right? Ask question. If you have to repeat yourself, you repeat yourself, right? Like I said, this is about your health. And the most important thing, right? Oh, you can always get a second opinion. There are millions of doctors, okay? There are millions of doctors' offices anywhere, right? And for some reason, if you have that gut feeling that perhaps maybe this was diagnosed perhaps too fast, maybe I should get a second opinion, you go ahead and get a second opinion. And sometimes we like, we put on blindfolds and we're like, we'll just do whatever they say because they always say this is a family doctor. That's great. You can trust your family doctor because they've been in the family for so long. But you can also get a second opinion, okay? And that's another thing too. A lot of the times people are being diagnosed and put on medication based on the family history. Like everybody is different, okay? And if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you come to break generational things, right? So that's something that you have to remember too. They usually begin with your family history because they want to get ahead into, okay, this is the category that you fall into. But like I said, that's when you start to realize these people are so quick to diagnose without even doing any tests. And if you have to get a second opinion, you get a second opinion. So it says here that Rhian Baldwin complained of abdominal pain and was later diagnosed with a tumor on her ovary. She underwent a hysterectomy, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that operation name, the surgery name, I guess you can say. So she underwent a hysterectomy and had her appendix and the lining of her bowel removed. Doctors later apologized after realizing that she didn't have ovarian cancer and said tumors had been discovered elsewhere in her body. A woman is opening up about undergoing unnecessary hysterectomy after doctors mistakenly told her she had ovarian cancer. Telling somebody that they have cancer, you cannot imagine what people go through. They like that would that if you're not, it depends what kind of support system you have and what kind of faith you have in the Lord. That can actually cause you to develop something else because stress will show up somewhere, right? If you don't deal with it, it will show up somewhere, right? And it's just so sad that she went through this, but I feel like this is one case out of so many people. Out of so many, like the other day I was talking about another episode, I was talking about how somebody went for surgery and they actually operated on the incorrect leg. And it's like when doctors are doing surgery, there's one more, like more than one person there. It's not just the doctor with the patient sedated doing the surgery. Like there's other people. How can they operate in the wrong part of the body? And then now this person is marked for life. It's negligence. It's complete negligence. And it's unfortunate, but like I said, it happens a lot. And you have to have somebody to be advocating for you. And like I said, when you have a gut feeling about something, an office, a doctor or something, just trust that, okay? Trust that, because that could be an alert that, God is sending to you so that you can make changes and to realize that you're probably in the wrong place, right? So in September, this happened in September of 2024, and she went because she was dealing with the excruciating abdominal pain, and the scan came back clear, and her symptoms were initially dismissed as PCOS. And however, she was rushed to the hospital 2 months later when the pain persisted. Her stomach also started swelling so much that she appeared to be 9 months pregnant. Once hospitalized, a second scan revealed that she had a 25-centimeter tumor on one of her ovaries, which needed to be surgically removed. She works as a dental nurse and she went a full hysterectomy in December. She also had her appendix and the lining of her bowel removed after she showed sign of swelling. The mom of two had biopsies done in all three organs during the major procedure. Her surgery and recovery was difficult. Mom of two. Imagine going through that and, having the children to care for too. She suffered from a buildup of fluid as well as sepsis. Sepsis is very difficult. And she was put in a medical-induced coma at one point, so she almost lost her life. She said, we were told, her sister said, we were told our sister was possibly wouldn't make it through the night. Her older sister, Lindsay, said, and she said, our world fell apart in that moment. Thankfully, she pulled through. She was sent home to recover. But then her biopsy results came back showing no cancer was found in any of the body parts that they removed. Doctor believed she had endometriosis, which can sometimes mimic cancer on scans. So if we know that endometriosis can show as cancer, why, technology is so advanced, why haven't they, instead of rushing to make this surgery, do like a couple more scans? Because like this article just said, this what she had can also show as cancer sometimes, right? So why not do a couple more tests before doing this complete surgery on her? She did not have cancer at all. Can you believe how happy we were all? We cried, jumped for joy. The nightmare was over. That is, I like how they received that. And it says here, despite the exciting news, her symptoms soon returned. She went back to the doctor for answers. They say, we are so sorry. We have gone through your notes, and you did actually have cancer, but it was your appendix, and it's one of the rarest form of cancer. That's what they told her. Although her appendix has been removed during surgery, the disease had already spread to her pelvis and lymph nodes. Doctors said cancer was now on stage 4 and incurable. And she's saying, I'm just emotionally drained. I'm constantly scared. Some nights I barely sleep. She told the news, it's just been a very scary journey. And if I'm honest, obviously I had a full hysterectomy when I did not need to. If I had my ovaries removed when I did not have an ovarian cancer, and I have the lining of my bowel removed when I did not have bowel cancer, then they did remove my appendix in December, but it wasn't until months later that they found cancer there. Now, more than 6 months after first complaining of stomach pain, she started her first month course of intensive chemotherapy on this past April 8th. Her older sister expressed her disappointment with how doctors have handled her care. It has not been the best experience, she told the outlet. If they figured it out earlier on, they would have not been in the position we are now. It feels like we have been massively let down. I think here's the thing. Sometimes when you hear stories like this and you feel for the patient, right? You cannot, because it can happen to anybody. I mean, like I said, healthcare has changed drastically in the past years, and like I said, there are great doctors, people who do care, nurses who do care for patients, doctors who want the best for you. And even if you're paying like good money to see one, it depends where, it depends like where you go, I guess you can say. But I also seen very compassionate doctor in the low end of of the price scale, I guess you can say. At the end of the day, guys, I know in the medical field, people make mistakes. It's unfortunately though, because they're handling a human being, another human being, and that's why it's just so sad. But it's always good to get a second opinion. It's always good to get a second opinion. Don't ever feel bad when you're advocating for yourself. When people say, oh, I don't want to make them to think that I don't trust their professionalism, this and that. They will probably appreciate, because they will probably appreciate you going and getting talking to somebody else about it, right? You have the right as a patient. If you don't feel comfortable, if you feel like you're being rushed into doing something you don't want to do, and if you feel like you could have another opinion from another professional, you as a patient, you have that right, okay? Because at the end of the day, it is you who will deal with any mistake that they might do. It is you who will deal with all the consequences. And it's just so sad. And one thing is for something to happen to you, but when it happens to like a loved one, that's that is the worst, probably the hardest thing, because that's like you get into a protective mode, right? I'm speaking from going through when my mom got sick and all of that. Definitely you get into this protective mode, and you want to speak to everybody. You want to go all the way to the director, and you want to seek answers, and you want them to explain for you what is going on really, and why she's taking this medication, why she was removed from this medication. You want answers. And sometimes I feel like we have been educated, I guess, as a society, to just do what they say, just follow what the doctor says. Let me tell you something. You do that, right? But you can also ask a second opinion. These days, they're just so quick to just give you something, and I feel like you always have to give it some time to see how the patient will react to something. Not every medication is gonna work well on everybody, right? Not everything is gonna be like it's gonna be effective on one person. That's why, like, some people might take a medication for something, and they're like, oh, it's doing great, and they recommend it to you, and then it's like it doesn't work out for you, right? We all are built differently. And it's so sad that she had to go through this. There is a GoFundMe account, like I said. This happened in England. So if you're feeling led to help this, like it said that she's a mom of 2, and now she's going through chemotherapy. So, if you feel led after hearing this to help out donating to her GoFundMe campaign. I'm gonna leave the link here on the description. And if you can just, if you don't have the means to help right now, through the GoFundMe campaign, you can always pray for her and keep the family in your prayers. And I'm just gonna read briefly some of the comments that people are saying here in the chat. It says, "It's totally unbelievable. It makes me scared to trust these doctors or nurses since the mess hiring everybody that had a medical background, not real credentialing, during the pandemic." And then somebody said, "I feel bad for her, but it's the only way a doctor is going to be able to tell if a tumor is cancerous, if the biopsy. If they can look at your CT scan or MRI and tell you something benign, but unless they actually do the biopsy, they wouldn't know. And 5 months down the road, that tumor they told you was nothing, suddenly killing you." Yeah, they did the biopsy, but they got the results later. It's like, whatever happened to waiting to the result first before you remove it? Too many times the doctors ignore the symptoms and get it in their head that is one thing and never consider it to be something else. The patient pays dearly for their mistakes. Somebody said, "I lost my daughter to cancer. They refused to check for stating she was too young. Only old ladies get that type of cancer." That is the other thing, right? Like I said, they begin by asking you your family history. And I understand how genes work and all of that, but like I said, if you're a firm believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, you come to break those curses. Once you have knowledge of what Jesus did for you on the cross, you break those curses, that, like they say. And you always, it's this, I guess you can call it, they kind of classify you quickly. They're like, "Oh, 3 people in your family had this and you're gonna have it too." Like, what? Right? And then you begin this treatment that you don't even need it, right? So be careful of those quick diagnoses, okay? Always ask, why, based on that, and based on what am I giving this, based on what are we starting this treatment for? Can you show me results? Can you tell me what test is needed, or are you gonna do any other tests? And if you feel that you're being quickly diagnosed, like I said, there are millions of doctors. You go and get a second opinion. And it says here that some people in the medical field nowadays are a total joke. It's like you've been pranked by their misdiagnosis and malpractice. Let me see. How very sad. Your family definitely should sue everyone involved. How tragic. My doctor gave me a hysterectomy for endometriosis when I was only 21. My whole life have been a big ball of pain. I had 4 more surgeries for removal, and I had no ovaries, and they don't know. Wow. And people are saying you should definitely sue. Like, people will say that, well, she's gonna be a millionaire now. They say things like this. Like, do we really, is this some type of, this is the only results that we get? Why aren't there more like people supervising the doctors? I always wonder, like, who is the supervisor, right? We're so, like, at the end of the day, doctors, I know they do great work, but they are also humans, and they make mistakes, and they slack, and they get tired, and they don't want to do something, and they're too quick to diagnose. And I always wonder who's checking up on the, as a supervisor wise, right? But people are so like, that's what the doctor said, that's what he needed, that's what he blah blah blah, that's what they want. So I think, people will say, "Oh, just sue." Yeah, but like, excuse me, but if it's gonna happen to somebody else, what do you accomplish with that, right? It's just some type of more supervision needs to be enforced to maintain everything working together, because this is not the first story. We have heard this story many times before. So let me know everybody what you think about this. Leave a comment. Thank you so much everybody for coming back to my channel. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Like I said, I will be putting the link for GoFundMe. Have a good day everybody. God bless. Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day everybody. God bless.